A Mississippi man has pleaded guilty to burning a cross, and for, I guess, the worst reason, can't think of a good one, but specifically to intimidate his neighbors who are black. He made the decision to put up a cross, to then burn it, so that he could terrify black people who happen to live near him. This was not in the 30s. This happened just a couple of years ago, and you're seeing him there. And immediately when I saw that, I thought, yes, that checks out. Yes, that is the person who did that thing. 24-year-old Axel Cox admitted that he burned the cross because of the victim's race and because they were occupying a home next to his. If you need to know this, cross burning is considered a hate symbol that was popularized by the Ku Klux Klan, which, Justice Samuel Alito aside, is not a cause for joking. Cox was charged with violating the Fair Housing Act for trying to intimidate his neighbors in December 2020. He assembled a wooden cross in his yard and covered it with motor oil before lighting it on fire. The Assistant Attorney General had this to say about the case: burning a cross invokes the long and painful history, particularly in Mississippi, of intimidation and impending physical violence against black people. The Department of Justice will continue to prosecute those who use racially motivated violence to drive people away from their homes or communities. He faces up to 10 years in prison now, a fine of up to $250,000. Dear God. Elise, what do you think?
I'm very worried about the state of our country and the violence that we're seeing constantly every single day that's inflicted on different marginalized communities, whether that's by the Supreme Court on LGBTQ plus people, or whether that's by individuals emboldened by GOP on Black and Brown Americans. It seems to have, we seem to see stories like this every single day. And it seems like January 6th was a peak that I thought was going to, trickle down, that people would be held accountable. But no, we have, famous rappers that I once loved, encouraging this mindset. And then you have, former presidents who still are around and inciting violence. And, it really does impact the everyday person. And as a person of color, as a queer person, I'm like shocked at how this country is turning out. And it is not sustainable this way. Like, it's not going to phase and average into nothing and average into, we're all going to be peace and harmonious again. Like, something has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's always going to be messed up people. It certainly does seem as if there's more of them and they're more emboldened. I mean, this guy was 22 when he did this, or give or take. Like, we're how many months into the pandemic? And he's like, you know what I'm gonna do? This is what I'm gonna do. I don't understand it. By the way, I see in the chat someone was asking about why it is that they burn the cross, since of course they are Christians. One would think that they would like revere the cross or whatever. I actually really fast looked it up, and apparently they got the idea from a movie based on a book from decades and decades and decades ago, obviously. But I would assume it's not about destroying the cross. It's about using the idea of radical Christian might against these people, I think. Because remember, like, in theory, most Christians want to, portray the church as a force just for good and acceptance and all that. But very often it has been tied to violence, including political violence. And I think this is one of the biggest demonstrations of that in recent times. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.